Hey, welcome to my channel. I teach the Bible here, and this is a message for Monday the 13th of February 2023, and I call this the expectation of prayer. And we're going to take a look at Acts chapter 12, verses 1 through 19. What do you expect when you pray? Think about that. I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell so you get notified every time I put something out. I put stuff out every day, okay? Some shorts, and my daily devotions, read the Bible with you and pray, and then a message every day except for Sunday. Sometimes Sunday I miss that, and it's because I'm involved with church. And I've watched the State of the Union address most of my life, on TV, and I had a hard time watching it this time. I have a hard time with Joe Biden, but I watched the tail end of it, and then I watched the response by Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Great speech. She's 40 years old, just was elected governor of Arkansas, and where her dad had been governor. And I watched her give her response, the Republican response to the State of the Union address. And she talked about, and I didn't know some of this, she talked about her mother was diagnosed with cancer when her mother was 20 years old, with I think it was spine cancer of the spine. And the doctor said, number one, you probably won't survive. Number two, you certainly never have a child, And of course, she did survive. And she had Sarah in 1982 and had a child. And now that child is the governor of Arkansas, like her dad was. And had been President Trump's press secretary as well. Sharp, great speech. I love great speaking, and she gave us a great speech. Now, they're Christians, okay? Mike Huckabee, her dad, has been a pastor, is still a pastor, as well as a politician. And when his wife got sick, I know they prayed. I know they had to pray. And look, God healed her. I mean, they've been married almost 50 years now, I think. And God healed her. So obviously, what did they expect when they prayed? When the doctors are going, oh, very unlikely you're going to survive. You'll never have a child. What did they expect when they prayed? Prayer is like that. Sometimes we don't expect God to answer the thing we're praying for. And I want to show you an example of that. It's in the 12th chapter of Acts. And I'm going to read through the first 19 verses, and we'll comment on it as we go. It was about this time that King Herod arrested some who belonged to the church, intending to persecute them. He had James, the brother of John, put to death with the sword. That's how the world responded to those who followed Christ. That's how they responded to Christ. Some respond to us like that today. When he saw that this pleased the Jews, he proceeded to seize Peter too. This happened during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. After arresting him, he put him in prison, handing him over to be guarded by 4 squads of 4 soldiers each. This is the kind of guard they put on Peter in prison. 4 squads of 4 soldiers each. 16 soldiers watching him all the time. Herod intended to bring him out for public trial after the Passover. Wanted to bring him out and put him on trial. They're planning on killing Peter too, okay? So Peter was kept in prison, but listen to this. The church was earnestly praying to God for him. They had a prayer meeting, and they were praying for Peter. What do you suppose they're praying? Well, they're praying that God would deliver him, that God would save his life. Verse 6, the night before Herod was to bring him out to trial, Peter was sleeping between 2 soldiers, bound with 2 chains, and sentries stood guard at the entrance. Suddenly, an angel of the Lord appeared, and a light shone in the cell. He struck Peter on the right side and woke him up. Quick, get up, he said, and the chains fell off Peter's wrist. We're talking about miracle turf here. Then the angel said to him, put on your clothes and sandals. Peter did so. Wrap your cloak around you and follow me, the angel told him. Peter followed him out of the prison, but he had no idea that what the angel was doing was really happening. He thought he was seeing a vision. It's not really happening. I think I'm seeing a vision. They passed the first and second guards and came to the iron gate leading to the city. It opened for them by itself, and they went through it. Imagine that. They didn't have electricity yet, but it opened by itself. God did it. That's how it happened. When they'd walked the length of the street, suddenly the angel left him. And then Peter came to himself and he said, now I know without a doubt that the Lord sent his angel and rescued me from Herod's clutches and from everything the Jewish people were anticipating. In other words, God sent the angel and rescued him from being executed. When this had dawned on him, he went to the house of Mary, the mother of John, who is also called Mark, where many people were gathered and were praying. Now, this is probably the Mark that wrote the gospel that bears his name. And he was very close to Peter. Peter had a lot of influence on him. Peter knocked at the door at the outer entrance, and a servant girl named Rhoda came to answer the door. When she recognized Peter's voice, she was overwhelmed and overjoyed. So she ran back without opening it and exclaimed, "Peter's at the door." You know, imagine the joy, okay? They've been praying for that, right? They've been praying for that. Listen how they responded to her. "You're out of your mind," they told her. But she kept insisting that it was so. So they said, well, it must be his angel. It has to be his angel because we know he got killed, you know. They were asking that he be delivered, but they were almost sure that it had to be his angel because he got killed. What were they expecting from their prayers? What did they expect? But Peter kept on knocking, and when they opened the door and saw him, they were astonished. Peter motioned with his hand to them for them to be quiet and described how the Lord had brought him out of the prison. "Tell James and the brothers about this," he said, and then he left for another place. In the morning, there was no small commotion among the soldiers as to what had happened to Peter. After Herod had a thorough search made for him and did not find him, he cross-examined the guards and ordered that they be executed. If you were a guard and your prisoner got loose in the good old days, guess what they did? They killed you. And they killed these guys because Peter got loose. Now, these folks were praying that Peter would be released. And they were stunned, flummoxed, overwhelmed when God answered their prayers. What were they expecting? They were expecting a no. Why? Well, probably because they'd killed James, John's brother, okay? And that influenced how they were responding to prayer. How do you and I respond to prayer? Do we expect the same thing? Do we expect that the thing we're praying for is not going to happen? Or do we expect that it is going to happen? And if we don't expect that it is going to happen, why in the world are we praying? You got to ask yourself that. You know, I had a brother and sister. My brother died of cancer. He was younger than me, 10 years younger than me. Died of cancer in 1999 at the age of 40. I was 50. And we prayed that God would heal him. But I wonder when I think back about that, what did we expect? Did we expect God to heal him? Or did we expect that he would die? Well, he died. Okay. My little sister had cancer. And she passed away at the end of January in 2012. She was 48. I think I was 63 at the time. She was 14 and a half years younger than me. We prayed. I prayed that God would heal her. What did I expect? I wonder about that. So what are you praying about? Are you like the church when they were praying for Peter? What do you expect? I want to just ask the question, why don't we expect God to say yes to our prayers? What do we expect? Maybe we ought to change the way we expect God to respond to our prayers. He's God. He can do whatever he wants. And we ask him to. If we ask him in faith, humbly, we don't need to be doing this claim it stuff. Ask him humbly in prayer to provide the thing we're asking for. And you know what? If it's his will, he'll do it. If it's not, he won't. But why not expect the best? Okay? Why not? The church didn't, but God came through. We ought to start expecting to get that God's going to do the stuff we're asking him to do, as long as it's not against his will. Our expectations should be stronger than they are. That's just a thought for you. Hope you'll subscribe, hit the bell, make comments, help me get this out.